The air hung heavy, thick with an unspoken dread, thick with fear and the scent of decay. It permeated every corner. This was the Barrio, a place where hope went to die, where dreams were crushed under the weight of reality. And in this hopeless place, a king was born. Not of noble blood but of violence and despair. He was not born into royalty, but he ruled with an iron fist. His kingdom was one of shadows and fear. He was called Eldiablo, the devil. A name that struck terror into the hearts of those who heard it. A name whispered in fear, a name that brought darkness with it. This is his story. His real name was lost to time, swallowed by the streets that made him. The Barrio was his crucible. His real name was lost to time, swallowed by the streets that made him. The Barrio was his crucible. The streets were unforgiving, a harsh teacher that showed no mercy. The Barrio was his crucible, a place where only the strong survived. Poverty and violence, his teachers. They taught him the harsh realities of life. He learned young that power was law. In a world where the weak were prey, he chose to be the predator, and the law was his to take. He seized it with both hands, carving out his own destiny in the shadows. From a young age, he understood that survival meant dominance. He rose through the ranks, each step marked by blood and fear. Respect was earned through violence, loyalty through fear. Eldiablo became a legend, a dark figure in the annals of the Barrio. This is the story of a boy who became a king, not by birthright, but by the sheer force of will and the darkness within. Eldiablo wasn't born a monster, he was just a boy like any other with dreams and hopes. He was made one, by loss, by betrayal, by the harsh lessons life taught him too early, by the brutal realities of the Barrio. He knew only hardship. The streets were unforgiving and every day was a battle. His family ground down by poverty. They struggled to make ends meet, living day by day, their dreams crushed under the weight of survival. Then tragedy struck, changing everything. His father, a good man, broken by the world. He tried to protect his family but was overwhelmed by the harshness of life. Gunned down in a dispute over nothing. A few pesos, a meaningless life. His death left a void that could never be filled. The streets took him in. They offered him family, loyalty, a sense of belonging he had lost, and a way to survive, a terrible way. But it was the only way he knew, the only way to endure the pain and loss. The Barrio was run by gangs, small-time hoods and thugs. They pushed drugs, they offered protection, they ruled through fear. Eldiablo was different. He was smart, ruthless. He saw the bigger picture. He united the gangs, ended the petty rivalries, turned chaos into order. He built an empire on cocaine. The white powder flowed north, money flowed south. His name became legend, whispered in hushed tones. Eldiablo, the devil himself. Section 4, Reign of Terror. Power is a dangerous drug. It intoxicates. It corrupts. Eldiablo became the monster they said he was. He ruled through fear and violence. Those who opposed him disappeared, their families silenced. The police were powerless. Corrupt officials lined their pockets with blood money. Eldiablo was invincible, untouchable, or so he thought. Section 5, the walls close in, but even the devil casts a shadow. And in the shadows, enemies gather. The DEA wanted him. The government wanted him. Most of all, his rivals wanted him gone. They saw weakness in his empire, cracks in his armor. A young, ambitious agent made it his mission to bring Eldiablo down. He infiltrated the cartel, gathered evidence, waited for the right moment. The net was closing in. Section 6, Scars on the Soul. This is a tale of pain, betrayal, and the indelible marks left on the human spirit. The raid was swift, brutal. The air was thick with tension as the SWAT team moved in, breaking down doors and arresting suspects in a chaotic frenzy. Eldiablo's empire crumbled overnight. His lieutenants betrayed him. The once untouchable drug lord found himself alone, his trusted allies turning against him for their own survival, sold him out for a chance at freedom. He was captured, put on trial. The courtroom was filled with anticipation as the judge delivered the verdict, sealing his fate. The world finally saw his face. The media frenzy painted him as the ultimate villain, a symbol of the cartel's terror. He died in prison years later, forgotten by most. His name became a ghost story, a cautionary tale of power and downfall, a ghost story whispered in the Barrio. The cartel was gone, but the scars remained. The community still bore the wounds of his reign, on the lives he destroyed. Families mourned, their lives forever altered by the violence and chaos he brought, on the soul of a nation. The impact of his actions rippled through society, leaving a nation grappling with the aftermath. El Diablo was a monster, but he was also a reflection of the darkness within society, a product of systemic failures and corruption. But he was also a product of the world that created him, a world where poverty and desperation can give birth to monsters.